So some of y'all might have seen a video that I posted a little bit earlier today. The first half of this video will be damn similar to that one. Not identical, because I don't use a script. I sit in this chair and I talk to this phone. But I'm not just going to edit that video to add more stuff onto it, because I don't know how to edit videos. I sit in this chair and I talk to this phone. Hell, this is the first video where I thought about the fact that if I turned my iPhone sideways, it would look better on YouTube than having those little black bars around me. So I'm not exactly a video editor. So why am I reshooting this video to add more stuff to it? Because something I said at the end of it made me think about another issue. And it's not directly related to the topic of the video I made earlier, but they're both related by the idea that you should care about your basic rights and be concerned about attacks that are going on against them right now. So I figured it was worth reshooting. So, as everybody knows, there was a high-profile murder recently. I didn't make a video about that in particular because talking about things like assassinations is not really what I do. When I talk about a current event, whether it be a real serious one like that, or whether it be silly social media bullshit like I bring up sometimes, it's always just as a jumping off point. It's never about that thing itself. And this is about to be a perfect example of that. Why did I bring up the fact that a high-profile murder occurred? Well, because somebody else brought it up. One, Jimmy Kimmel over at ABC. Now, Mr. Kimmel was a host of a late-night comedy show. I didn't watch him. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of late-night comedy in general. I like stand-up comedians. I like narrative, sitcom type stuff. But late night just isn't my bag. So I didn't see the joke he told about the murder. And I've seen a lot of people talking about the joke he told. I've heard people saying it was the worst, most hateful thing ever said. I've heard people saying it was just a lighthearted little jab. I thought about watching that video before making this one, but here's the thing. What he said or didn't say doesn't affect my assessment of the situation. Jimmy Kimmel, he makes this joke, whatever it was, ABC fires him. So far, so good. His job was to go on TV and say shit. If ABC didn't like the shit he was saying, they didn't have to pay him to keep saying it. They have no obligation to do that, and they have a constitutional right not to. Freedom of association. So, all good, right? Nothing else to talk about. Roll credits? No. Because something happened in between Jimmy Kimmel tells a joke and ABC fires him. What happened in between is that the FCC didn't like the joke he told and threatened to pull the license for ABC if they didn't do something about it. Now that is something very concerning and kind of ironic, right? The modern right has positioned itself as sort of free speech warriors, and not just on the First Amendment. I mean, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they ran ostensibly on the First Amendment, right? But the right's conception of freedom of speech has been more expansive than that. I mean, think about Elon Musk. He supposedly was buying Twitter to bring back freedom of speech. And you know what? I think they might have had a little bit of a point on that, because when you think about it, I don't know what to do about it, because social media companies don't have any obligation to let people say what they want on their platform any more than a TV channel has to let someone keep being a host. And they have the same right not to, freedom of association. But it is concerning for freedom of speech that the public square, which in this modern technological world is social media for a vast swath of people, is controlled by a handful of corporations who get to dictate what you can and cannot say. That's not a First Amendment issue, but it is, in principle, a freedom of speech issue. It's one where freedom of speech butts up against freedom of association, so it's hard to know what to do about it, but I sympathize with that issue. But now, they aren't just attacking some abstract, expanded notion of freedom of speech. For the government, the FCC, a government agency, to say, we don't like the political speech you did, so we are going to not let you be a TV channel anymore unless you fire the person that said it, that is a direct assault on the First Amendment. And it's not ambiguous. They can try to justify it any way they want to, but it's not ambiguous. This is a line in the sand. You either believe that the government can tell you what you can and cannot say, or you don't. And in America, it's goddamn sure supposed to be don't. And a lot of people have made a dumb comparison with this. A lot of people on my side of things, they've said, well, Jimmy Kimmel gets fired, but Brian Kilmeade over at Fox, he talks about euthanizing the homeless and he hasn't been fired. And the reason I say this is a dumb comparison is because it misses the point. Again, I don't know what Jimmy Kimmel said. It would be hard-pressed to be as hateful as euthanize all the homeless, but it doesn't matter what was more hateful or less hateful. It doesn't fucking matter. Because here's the thing, and a lot of people on my side might not like this, but it would be just as goddamn terrifying if the FCC were to go to Fox News and tell them that they were going to pull their fucking license to be a TV channel if they didn't fire Brian Kilmeade. Just as terrifying. And some of my followers might not like that emotionally. And I get it, they care more about their own side, right? But here's the thing, you don't have to care at an emotional level about your opponents having their rights. You don't. You just have to care about you having your rights. And then if you've got two fucking brain cells to rub together, you know that you don't have your rights if people you don't like don't have their rights. And that's why I say that the comparison is dumb. Because whether it's Jimmy Kimmel at ABC or Brian Kilmeade at Fox, the government telling you that your TV channel won't exist anymore unless you fire someone for some political speech they did is a naked violation of the First Amendment. But that's not the only amendment that the Trump administration is after right now. So right now, the Department of Justice under Donald Trump is trying to go for the Second Amendment rights of trans people. They claim that this is about mental health. It's a lie. It's not about mental health. The Republican Party has always been against red flag laws, as am I. Guns are one of the few things that traditionally I agree with them on. The Republican Party doesn't want to disarm anyone who has any kind of higher propensity towards suicide, right? Because otherwise a lot of veterans with PTSD would be having their guns taken. There's no mental health angle that applies specifically to transgender people that wouldn't apply to a whole lot of people that the Republican Party would never, ever consider trying to disarm. And, I mean, I'm not going to argue the psychiatry of it, but if we want to, the overwhelming consensus of psychiatrists is that the treatment for gender dysphoria is transition. But that, you don't even need that to get into this Second Amendment issue. And to be fair to conservatives, some of them have been good on this. The NRA, as pro-gun as I am, I always just kind of viewed them as like the gun-themed fundraising wing of the Republican Party. I never expected to have much respect for them, but I appreciate it. I'm sure that most people over at the NRA are not fond of trans people. They're deeply conservative people, but they put that aside to come out against the restriction of gun rights. And that's good. It's a rare thing to see in the modern world. People putting aside some other bullshit to focus on the basic rights and protect those basic rights. And the attempt to selectively disarm trans people is, with everything going on right now, one of the scariest attacks on rights imaginable. The way that liberals go after gun rights, as much as I don't like what they want to do to gun rights, it's quite different. So what they want to do is ban certain guns for everyone. I'm not on board with that. I have 5 guns in my house, and one of them is the spooky, scary gun that they all want to ban. But that's what they want to do. They want to ban certain guns for everyone. A move like that makes tyranny easier later, which is why I oppose it. But it doesn't signal immediate intent to commit tyranny. But if you look at history, once people start selectively disarming populations they don't like, that's when tyranny follows immediately. People compare liberal gun policy to the Nazis, but what the DOJ is trying to do right now is much closer. Nazi Germany did not disarm everyone. They made it easier for ethnic Germans to get guns and banned it for everyone else. banned it for the people they didn't like. Chairman Mao, he didn't disarm everyone. He was handing out guns like fucking crazy to youth movements that supported him. They weren't part of the military. They weren't part of the government. Hell, half the time they turned those fucking guns on each other. But he disarmed the people who opposed him and armed the people who supported him. And that's what we're looking at right now. With the DOJ's attempt to disarm transgender people. And look, I know a lot of you, anyone who follows me probably has the same positive opinion of trans people that I do. But even if you don't, it doesn't matter. Because again, you don't have to like someone or actually care emotionally about them having their rights. You just have to care about your rights and know, because you have two fucking brain cells to rub together, remember? Know that if they don't have their rights, you don't have yours as soon as it's convenient to someone. So I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. There's high-profile murder. The Epstein shit's churning right along. And every day there's something to pull focus. And some of those things are worth focusing on, for sure. But don't let your focus be so pulled that you forget to focus on your basic rights. They may not be as fun, they may not be as sexy, they may not be as right now. But when it comes down to it, when everything comes down the pike, those basic rights are the things that really fucking matter. That's all I have to say about that.